People often don't understand when you just explain something to them. And so you might give the best description ever of the drill that you want your players to do, but if they cannot hear you, that doesn't really matter. And so this is where the demonstration becomes so important. If you get on the court, pick a player, pick someone who you think will be competent and will have enough confidence to go out there and be your demo partner. Show them how to do the drill. Don't just show them once. Show them at least 3 times. How does the drill work? Who's doing what? Where's the ball supposed to go? Is there scoring? Great. How do we add that? Is there a rotation? Oh, if you go out and spend a little bit of time delivering really great demos, your players will really benefit and you will save time in the long run. Not too long ago, I was at a coaching event, and it wasn't exactly for a pickleball coaching event, but it was sort of pickleball adjacent. It was tennis. Anyway, there were a whole bunch of coaches that were there doing their thing, and this was supposed to be a group of expert coaches who were doing professional development, working with one another, and it was interesting to watch. It was actually very interesting to watch. But one of the things that happened over the course of the time is that the coaches would go out with real players on real courts, and they would show their stuff, and they would run through some drills. They would talk about what they were seeing, all that kind of good stuff. And I love that stuff. I love watching good coaches do their thing. And it was interesting because one of the people that was organizing that was running this, he was actually their boss, came to me and said, "Hey, so what do you think? I need my guys to be better." And they were all guys. "I need my guys to be better. What do you think?" And I was put in kind of an awkward position because I wasn't there to evaluate him. I wasn't there to evaluate them. I was there really just as an observer. But here this guy was, the guy who invited me, asking me to let him know what I thought. And so I did. And the thing that I had noticed, the thing that really stood out to me, there were 5 coaches that had gone. They had done 4 or 5 drills with 3 or 4 different groups of players. So really, we're talking about 20, 25 drills that happened in front of us. And the thing that stood out to me was that not a single person of all those 25 drills ever actually demonstrated the drill to their players. Didn't matter whether the coach was working with kids, with men, with women, with a mixed group. Every time that they were doing a new drill, the coach explained what it was that it was always a he, wanted them to do. But not once did they show it. And that stood out to me. And when I said this to this man, the guy who was in charge of all this, it's like his jaw dropped. And he said, "Mark, you're right." And I didn't even notice it. Now, I thought my job was done here. And I said, okay, well, I shared this little bit of insight. Maybe he'll now go talk to his coaches at some point and work on making sure they demonstrate. No. What he did instead, he said, "Mark, can you please go tell them?" I said, "Who, me?" He said, "Yeah, you go tell them. It'll hit different coming from you," which I'm not sure why that would be, because I'm quite certain that none of these people had any idea who I was. I was just some guy standing in the back watching. Anyway, I did go up because he asked me to, and he's the one who invited me. And I thanked them for letting me come and watch, and talked about how much I was learning. And there were some new drills, and there were some things I thought were genuinely interesting. And then I said, hey, one thing I've noticed is that we never actually saw the drill from the coach. We never saw the demo. And everyone kind of went quiet all at once. And I didn't want to I'm not here to just like put down people, right, when they're doing something that could be done better. I think it's also important to explain the why. We've talked about that here on the show before. Why is a demo so important? And I think it's important for a few different reasons. And one of the ones that I gave right now is I said, oh, look, everyone loves to watch their favorite coach. That's all of you. Everyone likes to watch their favorite coach hit the ball. So give them that opportunity. This, incidentally, is why you as a pickleball coach should be a decent player. Right? You don't have to be an amazing player, but you've got to be a good enough player that you can go out and do those demos and do them well. So one is you want your players to be able to see their favorite coach go out and do the drills. But two, and this is actually, I think, a more important reason, is that people often don't understand when you just explain something to them. And in many cases, and we know this, we work with the population in pickleball, there's people that don't hear as well as they used to. And so you might give the best description ever of the drill that you want your players to do. But if they cannot hear you, either because their own hearing is going, because you're working in a very loud facility, there's pickleballs going all over the place, you can give the nicest description of a drill anyone has ever heard. But if it doesn't resonate with the players, if they don't hear it, literally, that doesn't really matter. And so this is where the demonstration becomes so important. If you get on the court, pick a player, pick someone who you think will be competent and will have enough confidence to go out there and be your demo partner. Show them how to do the drill. Don't just show them once. Don't show them twice. Show them at least 3 times. How does the drill work? Who's doing what? Where's the ball supposed to go? Is there scoring? Great. How do we add that? Is there a rotation? Oh, maybe we need more than one partner. Maybe we get 2 demo partners out there. So we can demonstrate not just the drill, but how the rotations work afterwards. I promise you, pickleball coaches, if you go out and spend a little bit of time delivering really great demos, not just of the skill you're working on, but of the drill that it is you're doing, your players will really benefit and you will save time in the long run. You'll save time because now you're not going to spend all your time telling people, no, after the 3rd shot, you're supposed to catch the ball, because they would have seen it a whole bunch. They're going to know. It's going to stick with them. So demonstrations are really important. Since we're here, we might as well talk about demonstrations more generally. By the way, if you go through the Pickleball Coaching International Instructor Certification Program, there's 4 evaluations. 3 of them take place on court. And one of those evaluations on court is what's known as the demonstration evaluation. And that is where, can you take a group of 3 or 4 players? Can you put them in position? Can you go out? Can you demonstrate a drill correctly? And then can you run that drill? Keeping it safe, keeping it fun, keeping everyone active. Demonstrations are super important. Now, what are some other key components of good demos? Well, there's always the belly button rule. And the belly button rule means you position yourself in a place where your players could, if you're wearing a crop top, I guess, see your belly button. Right? They should be able to see your front. If the players are behind you and they're looking at your back, they're not seeing what it is that you're demonstrating. They're probably not hearing you as well. So you should always position your players in a way that they can all see your belly button. Right? So that might mean moving everyone to one side of the court or moving everyone to the other side of the court. That's okay. Right? And you might need to think about where it is that you're standing. Let's say you're running some drills over 3 different courts. Right? You might have to stand on court number 1 and have your people standing all on court number 2 so that they can all see your belly button. Anyway, that's when it comes to demonstrating the drill. Right? It's really important when you're demonstrating the drill that you're also talking at the same time. So if you're talking about, I don't know, fighting for a good impact point when you're having a baseline to baseline rally, then when you're demonstrating that baseline to baseline rally with your hitting partner, you should be talking about, oh, look at my impact point. Oh, look how out front it is. Oh, it's going to be thigh high. So being able to hit the ball and talk at the same time is a really important skill. You're illustrating for players what it is you want them to do. You're highlighting the key elements while you're doing them. This is much more effective than just talking about it and then just doing it, right? So putting the words and images together, or as we like to say, you're saying and showing at the same time. What else is important for a good demo? Well, it's important that the player that you're using, the hitting partner, is like having success. So make sure you're sending them balls that they're likely to be able to send back the way you want. If you're working on, I don't know, I'm up at the net playing volleys and you're at the baseline playing ground strokes, then when I play my volleys to you, I shouldn't be crushing those balls to the baseline with tons of topspin. You're not going to be able to get the ball back. So now we're going to get a poor demo. You're going to be humiliated because you didn't get the balls in play. We don't want that. So I, as the coach, should make sure that I'm sending balls that you are likely to have success with, so we can be nice and consistent when we have that rally. You're going to look great. I'm going to look great. Everyone's going to know what the drill is supposed to be. Okay, so that's important. One more thing that's really important, I notice sometimes coaches miss this one, is often when you're doing some kind of a drill, there's 2 roles, 2 distinct roles. Let's say, for example, I don't know, we're working on a serve and a return of serve that's away from the middle of the court, right? That you're returning the serve either like quite extremely down the line or quite extremely cross court, right? To avoid one player. So you get some cones out there. So there's two jobs in this drill. One is the serve and one is the return. Now, the serve is really just incidental, right, to get the ball in play, so the returner gets to do their thing. So guess what? The coach should be the one to hit the returns in the demo. They're the ones who should have to aim for those targets. Let the player, your student, your hitting partner, let them do the easy job of being the server, right? Then they just get the ball in play. After all, if you put them in a position where they had to do the hard job, in this case, returning serve away from the middle, and they could do it right off the bat, under pressure, with everyone watching them, then they probably don't need to spend much time doing the drill, do they? So no, you as the coach, if you've got a demo partner out there and there's two different jobs, give the easy job to your player and you take on the hard job yourself. But whatever it is you're doing, coaches, whether you're introducing some new scoring or a new target or you're working on something that's brand new, show your players what you want. Don't just talk about it. Go out there on the court. Give them a great demo. On that note, welcome to Pickleball Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Renison, and we are going to be back in just a second to answer some more of your pickleball coaching questions.
Hey, have you heard of the new Play More app?
No, what is it?
Basically, the Play More app is like a stress-free scheduling app for pickleballers. So I don't know, we've struggled a lot in group text trying to organize play. You'll set it up and somebody will just like the text. And I'm like, does that actually mean you're coming or not?
Yeah, and it's like, you never know how many people you have, like what rating they are. It's kind of annoying.
It can kind of just be a nightmare to try to organize groups because group texts are just not fun. So basically the Play More app lets you send out invitations. You get an RSVP list. If somebody doesn't show, there's a wait list that will actually like put somebody right into.
No way.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Dang, that's awesome. What's it called?
It's called the Play More app. So you should download it at the App Store or you can go to getplaymore.com if you want to look at it online.
Welcome back to Pickleball Coaches Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Renison. This is the show where we don't just talk about pickleball, we talk about teaching pickleball, coaching pickleball. Are you a pickleball instructor or you want to get started? This is the place for you. By the way, you can head over to pcipickleball.com to learn a whole bunch of things about coaching pickleball, especially our instructor certification program, which is 100% online, which is very convenient. And that's over at pcipickleball.com. Let's get to today's first question. This one comes from Dwight R., Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, my hometown. And Dwight says, during my pickleball lessons, I have one or two players who think that they are the coach. They start giving everyone tips even though no one is asking them. How do I handle this? Okay, Dwight, this is an excellent question. And this does sometimes happen, that you've got a lesson going on where you're the coach and you have other people who decide they're going to be really helpful, in air quotes, giving tips to other people. So what do you do here? Well, first of all, I always come at this assuming the best intentions. They're not out there to try to show you up. They're not up there to like steal your business. They're not up there to, I don't know, show off. They're up there to help someone. They think that they can help, right? Maybe they think of themselves as a really skilled player, a skilled coach. I don't know. They can give some great tips. So I think the thing to do if it's really becoming an issue, if it's one or two tips here or there, I don't think that's a big deal. You can probably let that one slide. But if it's happening regularly, if it's recurring, and if it's becoming an issue, then I think you do need to take that person aside privately and have a little chat with them. Remember, you should always praise publicly and criticize privately. So take them aside during a water break or, get someone to jump in for the drill for you for a second, take that person aside and say, hey, this is your question, Dwight. So I'll ask you, hey, Dwight, I love how engaged you are in this lesson. I can tell that you're really into it, and I can tell that you really like helping other people, which is also great. It's really important to know when we do this lesson, like when I'm running this lesson, there's a real structure to it and there's a real kind of rhythm and order. And I notice that sometimes that you jump in and try to share some tips with some other people. And I know it's coming from a good place, Dwight. I know it is, but it's really important that you let me coach this in a way that it's been planned out and scheduled. Because sometimes we might even get to the same thing that you're going to talk about, right? Your great tips that you're giving, Dwight. But it's important the order in which they happen. Okay. So unless someone really asks you for your help, I need you to really just concentrate on your own game, on your own training, on what you're doing there. And then that way I can do my thing. And if afterwards there's questions that come up or someone wants to ask you, then no problem. Right? And so if you handle it sort of like that, you're one acknowledging that it's coming from a good place, right? They're not trying to be a jerk. You're kind of flattering them a little bit. Oh, I know you really like to help and you've got lots of knowledge here. It's great. But you're also kind of setting a boundary. right? This lesson needs to go at my speed, the way that I've planned it out, not yours, and stop interfering. So I think that's the way to handle those things. And again, you should always do it privately. All right, Brian W. in Sacramento, California asks, how much money can I charge for pickleball lessons? Oh, Brian, this is a hard question. This is like almost the impossible question. Why is this? Well, because there's different markets all over the place, right? How much you can charge in one city compared to another city is going to change depending on, what the economics of that city look like, what your overhead is going to be, what your experience is. Are we talking about private lessons? Are we talking about group lessons? It's so hard out there, Brian. I wish I could give you a clear answer. My suggestion to you first is to look at the comparables, right? What is it that other people are charging around you? Can you find this? Is it on their website or their Facebook group? And you probably want to go in probably competitive to whatever that is. Again, you don't want to price yourself too low because you're, one, devaluing the work that you're doing, right? But you also don't want to price it so high that people are going to be priced out of it. So it is a really hard question. I'm not trying to dodge it, Brian, I promise, but you do need to sort of see what the market is. I think other things to consider is what is your experience coaching, right? Are you a brand new coach who's just getting started? I had someone email me just yesterday who said, hey, Mark, what do I charge for pickleball lessons? And I said, I don't know, tennis coach, the same as what you charge for tennis lessons? And she made a good point. And she said, well, but I haven't been in pickleball that long. I haven't been coaching pickleball as long as I have been tennis. And I said, hey, that's a fair point. But you know what? You have been coaching for a long time, and that counts as something. That's worth a lot. Right? Your ability to be on the court with people and keep it safe and fun and effective, your ability to interact with people, that's something, whether you've been doing it in a different sport like tennis for the last 2 decades, or you've been doing it in pickleball now, that's something that matters, right? And I think we should acknowledge that. So these are different things to consider. I'm not trying to dodge your question, Brian, but you do kind of need to see what the market is. Think about what your experience is like. Think about what is it going to cost you to do all these things? And I bet you can figure out a price that will probably work. All right, our next question comes from Nick C. in Sydney, Australia. And Nick says, hey, Mark, how do I rate players fairly? This is something the club is asking me to do, but I'm not really sure where to get started. Okay, great question, Nick. Rating players is such a big deal right now, right? And it's not so much that people want to know exactly what tournaments to enter in. I mean, there are those people. But mostly when people are talking about doing ratings, what they're looking for is they just want to figure out which group do they fit into? Who should they be playing with? And as a coach, that's what you're trying to do is okay, which is my 3-0 group? Which is my 3-5 group? Which is my 4-0 group? That's kind of what we're talking about. So there's a bunch of different systems out there. You know that system out there that's all about match play, and every match matters, and you count them by the 10th or the 100th of a point. Those are out there. I don't think that those are great. And I don't think match play ratings are great. And here's why. Let's say you, at home, you're an amazing player, so good out there. I, not such a good player. And we go out and we play doubles together. And they target me. Every ball the opponents are hitting to that they can comes to me. Again, and the only balls you get are after I pop it up and they slam it down your throat. Now, we're going to go on and lose that match. But it's not because you messed up. You barely touched the ball. I'm the one who dragged you down. But guess what? You're going to get charged with the L. So that doesn't seem great. And conversely, let's say you're tired of losing with me, so you start poaching every single ball. You start coming across the middle, taking everything. And guess what? You do such a good job of it. We win. That's good for us. I'm going to get the W for that, even though I barely touched the ball. That doesn't seem very fair, does it? So anytime you have match play, and I understand the desire to have results based on match play. I get it. We want to see what you can really do on a court, so we have good competitive games. But the thing about pickleball, especially doubles pickleball, is that it's so easy for the lowest player to bring the team down and the strongest player to bring the team up. And so you don't actually get an accurate representation of what is the skill level of these players. So what else could you do? Well, what I really like to do is I like to do what we use here at PCI, what we call the ratings tool assessment. It's our PCI ratings tool. And it's essentially you on a court with an assessor, could be a coach, could be someone else, and you're going to do a series of activities, a series of exercises. And what we're going to do when we do that series of exercises is we're going to count. We're going to simply count. How many can you do out of 10? Right? And these aren't just any exercises. These are meaningful exercises, things that are really important in pickleball. Being able to serve the ball with control, being able to volley to someone who's back at the baseline, be able to keep that ball going to them. Being at the baseline yourself, and being able to hit balls to someone who's up at the net and to keep that ball low so it's tough to attack. Being able to be up at the net, receive a high ball like a lob, moving back for it, being able to smash it, and being able to do that with control. That's a pretty important skill. Being able to hit from the baseline to the baseline, kind of like a return of serve. Anyway, that's what we do with the PCI ratings assessment. It's a systematic way. It's a fairly objective way, because whether you're doing it in Sydney or in Singapore or in Summerland, British Columbia, it's the exact same assessment for everybody. And so it's not going to be about, well, how good or bad was my partner? How good or bad were my opponents? Take that out of the equation. So anyway, if you're interested in seeing this, go to PCIPickleball.com. You can see what our assessment tool looks like. You can sign up for it if you want. Maybe you create your own. That's okay. But I do think if what we're talking about is not so much about tournament play, all that stuff, but like, hey, which clinics do I sign up for? Right? Which groups do I go to? Which little local round robin? Am I in the 4-0 or the 3-0? This rating assessment tool is a really helpful way for coaches to do that, and it's fairly objective. One of the nice things about it, one of the reasons we created it, is it takes the pressure off the coaches, right? Let's say you at home are a coach and you have someone who says, Mark, my husband would really like to be in the 4-0 clinic with the rest of us. He'd really like to be in 4-0. And I go out and I say, okay, let me take a look at this guy. And I go and I hit some balls with him. Maybe we play some points. Maybe I watch him play. He's not a 4-0. He's a 3-5 at best. Well, now there's pressure on me, right? I've got to go and tell that guy or tell his wife, sorry, I know you want to be with the 4-0 group. I know you want to be with your friends and your family, but guess what? You're just not good enough. That's tough on me, or you if you're the coach. So then you might say, oh, okay, you just squeaked by, you go in the 4.0, but guess what? Now you've brought down the level of that group, and that's not fair to everyone else. Long term, that's not going to be good for you either, because your groups are going to be known as being watered down. So that's a lot of pressure on the coach. So instead, by using the rating tool assessment, we say, look, here are the different activities, here are the different numbers, and those numbers correspond to a skill level. And so when that husband goes out and does all the drills, and when you have to give him the bad news, oh, well, maybe it's bad news for him. You know what? You met the 3.5 standard. Yeah, too bad. I was really pulling for you that you get the 4.0. But look, here are the numbers, and here's how it corresponds to the rubric. And that takes the pressure off the coach. It's no longer because Mark doesn't like me. He's putting me in the 3.5. It's like, dude, here are the numbers. You met them or you didn't. Good luck next month when you come back and retest. Okay, so it does take a lot of the pressure off the coach. The other thing about this is that it's really helpful for the actual player themselves. They know exactly why they're in the 3-5 group instead of 4-0. Oh, my volley consistency wasn't high enough. Oh, my ground strokes from the baseline didn't get enough in a row. They know what to work on, right? So to me, using this, it's called using performance outcomes, right? It's like, how did you perform? What was the outcome of that performance? That's the way to assess a player's skill level. Rather than, oh, you beat so-and-so. Did you ever touch the ball or did your partner just hit everything? That's such a mushy way to do it. So check it out, PCIPickleball.com if you're interested in our ratings tool assessment. The feedback has been really great. And what we're hearing from a lot of coaches is that they don't feel so scared or intimidated to do it anymore. They don't feel so bad having to give people the rating that they get, because one, it's fairly objective, it's systematic, and it helps the players know exactly what it is that they need to work on to go forward. All right, we're nearing the end of this episode of Pickleball. We're nearing the end of this episode of Pickleball Coaches Podcast. We got one more quick tip for you. Here's a quick tip. If you ever run pickleball lessons where you have more than 4 people on a court, and that's going to happen, you don't only have to have 4. Sometimes you have 5, sometimes you have 6, and a skilled coach uses rotations so everyone's active, everyone's doing stuff. You get the idea. One thing I've really been experimenting lately, and I think it works really well, is no water breaks. Sorry, we take no water breaks in our group lessons anymore. But what we do instead is when you're one of those 1 or 2 people, let's say I'm running a 6-person lesson, and there are going to be times where we have all 6 people on the court at once, make sure areas are clearly defined and it's very safe. But in a lot of the cases, we're going to have 4 people on the court and 2 people off, right? And then we're going to rotate them in. And so what we've started to do is we say no more water breaks. But when you are off, right? When you're not one of the 4 people on the court, that's your chance for water. So have your water bottle nearby, put it by the fence, put it by the net post, whatever, somewhere that's safe, can be out of the way. And you take care of your own water breaks. And the 30 seconds you have where you're sitting out, that's not you sitting out. That's you getting a chance to have a drink. And what I love about this is that one is people actually start to look forward to those little breaks because they're working hard, right? And then they get their 30 seconds or their 60 seconds to have a drink. And two is it allows you as the coach to pack in so much more coaching and so much more of your lesson, right? If it's a 60-minute lesson, you're doing stuff for the whole 60 minutes. You don't need the water breaks because they're kind of built into the rotation. So that's my tip to you. Give that a try. If you are at home and you're coaching with four doesn't make sense. If you're coaching with 5 or 6 people on a court, instead of everyone stopping for that 3-minute water break, why not just say, hey, bring your water with you. Anytime you're off, that's your chance to get a drink. I think they're going to like it. All right, that's the end of this episode of Pickleball Coaches Podcast. I would love to know, what did you think about the show? What do you like about it? What do you don't like? This is a relatively new thing. Send me an email, info@pickleballcoachinginternational.com. That's such a long email address. info@pickleballcoachinginternational.com. You can also just head over to pcipickleball.com. You can hit the contact us button. That's pretty quick too, and it'll eventually work its way to me. If you are a pickleball coach or you want to get started, why not check out our instructor certification program? It is all online, 100% online. That means you can do it when you want, where you want, at your convenience, at your own speed. You don't have to miss work or school or travel. You don't have to miss a pickleball tournament to go do your instructor certification course. Check it out at pcipickleball.com. I think you're going to love it. What's cool about it is all the training is online, but then for the evaluations, you go on a real court with real people. You set up your camera and you show us your stuff. And it's a great way to make sure that people can still meet the standards when it comes to coaching, but also do it in a way that's flexible and convenient and makes it so you don't have to travel crisscross in the country to go to some instructor course. Anyway, check it out, pcipickleball.com. And until next time, I'm Mark Renison. Thanks for joining us.